So my friends, now we are in the town of Madaba. It's about 32 kilometers to the south of Amman. Amman is the dynamic capital of Jordan. The main attraction of the town for its ancient churches, including its beautiful mosaic floor, which dating to the 5th and 6th century. So that during the Byzantine period in Jordan from 324 to 640 in Jordan, the town of Madaba reached the height of its glory, and most of its famous churches and beautiful mosaics date from this period. While in 614 the town was destroyed by the Persians. But later, in 747, the town, badly damaged by a terrible earthquake, remained until the early of 19th century, when 2,000 Christian families came from Karak or Kyriakos, Karak, one of the major towns in the south, and they settled in the ancient site. So that the newcomers began to dig the foundations of their homes. Many of them discovered ancient Byzantine mosaics. Many of these are housed in the churches and homes of the town. The best example is in the modern Greek church of St. George, where we are now. But here, a copy of the map, the original map inside of a church. So that the most important point, we came here to give you some idea and explanation. And later, you can go and explore by yourself the original one. First of all, here the direction of the map, as in the church itself. Why? Because the church itself oriented to the east, like the church itself. We can see that the north, the south, the east, and the west. This is the direction of the area where we are now. So this map was made to cover the front section of the floor of the Byzantine church. So the mosaic makers used 2 million of small cubic stones in different colors, in different sized letters, in order to show the others the biblical territories. Most localities shown on the map were important towns or events, or sites of events in the Old Testament. So that the map is designed in the shadings of white, red, brown, green, brown, and other colors to indicate the biblical territories. So the central focus of the map is Jerusalem, in the heart of the map, as it was in the 6th century before the emergence of Islam. Why? Because the Islam began in 622. Before. But if you look, that we can see that here the plan of the walled city of Jerusalem, including that the Roman roads running through the commercial heart of the city. And here we can see the main gates. So today in present time, so the old or Jerusalem has 8 gates. And we can see including the Church of the Holy Sepulchre being the place where Jesus was crucified and died on the cross. But of course, this again the Islamic teaching. Why? Because the Islam did not crucified or died on the cross. A man looked like Jesus. He was, you know the story, because they are Muslims. But also that we can see that 2 different places, and here, different location, came under the name of Bethany. According to the Bible, the first Bethany is located on the main road between Jerusalem and Jericho. So according to the Bible, or according to the biblical accounts, Lazarus, one of the famous prophets at the time of King Ahab, died. So Jesus came from Jerusalem and he restored his life, or he called forth him from tomb. Today, a grand church stands on the same side. And also, Jesus sent 2 disciples from the Mount Olives to bring a donkey, and he rode to Jerusalem on Palm Sunday. And this is a very important story to the Christian peoples. It's not to the Muslims. However, the second place here, behind the river Jordan, being the place where Jesus was baptized by his cousin John the Baptist. John the Baptist in Islam, Yahya, Nabi Yahya. We can show Ibrahim, Ismail, Ishaq, بعدين بيجي يعقوب، بعدين يوسف، بعدين موسى، بعدين زكريا، بعدين يحيى، بعدين المسيح. هيك you see that, Also, that here we can see the Dead Sea. We are going to spend overnight down. Here we can see the Dead Sea in the central of the map. It's very big. We can see that 2 boats carrying salt moving from the eastern shore of the Dead Sea to the western overland to the Mediterranean, to the wealthy markets of Europe. But here we can see that the Jordan River, very famous. Why? Because Jordan River has special meaning or special significance to the Christians. Why? Because they believed that Jesus was baptized in this river and the water became very holy. And the most important sacrament in Christianity was born in the Jordan River.
Why do we call it a Dead Sea?
Dead Sea because no life, due to the high level of salt and other chemical, sodium chloride, potassium chloride, and calcium, silver nitrate, copper sulfate, and other chemical. Why? Because these chemical elements mixed together by nature, by power of the nature, producing a power to heal all types of skin disease. Only if you are addicted, it's good for you that to buy the Dead Sea products. It's good for yourself. However, we can see that here it's a fish, a river, angry. Why? Because turning back, swimming away from the high salty of the Dead Sea. Why? Because that the Dead Sea was not sweet water. We can see that 1, 2, 3 ancient rivers mentioned in the Bible, not in the Quran. And these rivers played a key role. Why? Because that when Moses came from Egypt, so that the land of Jordan was under 3 different controls. The Edomites in the south, and the Moabites and Ammonites where we are, and the Amorites in the north. So the Edomite king forcefully strove to give Moses any permission to pass through the south to come to Jerusalem, to the Holy Land. So that Moses had little option to make a big detour in the desert, so that the Israelites complained so much to Moses. Oh, Moses, we came from desert and we sent us to the desert. No food, no water, nothing. And so by this time also the Israelites began to speak bad words against the Lord. So the Lord had to punish his people with the fire and other things. You see that? But here the rivers, so that became the important stations for the Jewish people or for the Israelites. Why? Because for water. Why? Because according to the Quran that Moses struck the rock for 1 time for providing saving water for his people. But in the Bible that 3 times. Why? Because long journey from the Sinai, from Egypt, via Jordan to the Promised Land. So that at that time, desert area, so that Moses had to strike the rock. Why? But the Lord became, Allah became angry from Moses. Why? Because Allah told Moses to speak friendly to the rock, but instead of that, Moses went and struck the rock. Why? Because that he depends on his power. But you know that the God punished him, you are not going to come with my people into the land of Canaan or into the promised land. So that Moses became angry, was died and buried in the land of Moab according to the Old Testament. But the land of Moab, very big, both in ancient time and even in modern time. You know that the Moabite land, from where it came from, Amman to Mount Nebo until to Kyriakos here in the north. And also we can see the central hills of the country, extending from the north until to Aqaba on the Red Sea. And here about 1,600 meters above the sea level. So in winter time, it's covered with snow. And the snow stay on the high mountain tops more than 2 weeks. And here we can see that Kyriakos. But if you look here, the names of all these places were written in ancient Greek. If you have a knowledge about this language, very easy to recognize the name for these places. So we can see the number 2, this is Bethlehem. Bethlehem, it's a major town in the West Bank, being the birthplace of Jesus, where Jesus was born. 3, the Dead Sea. And here we can see that the River Jordan, starting from Mount Hermon in Syria, through the Jordan Valley, and empties into the Dead Sea. And see here, Jacob Well, it's not important for you. Why? Because that it's a story linked with the Gospels or with the New Testament, especially for the Christian people. We can see that here, the most important part here, Egypt, the Sinai. Oh, no, so here 12, here Hebron or in Arabic Al-Khalil. Hebron, the ancient home of Nabi Ibrahim. According to the Quran, that Ibrahim left the land to Egypt, and after coming from Egypt, he settled here in Hebron. So that when Sarah, his wife, died, he bought a cave from the Hittite with 25 shekel to bury her. And later, so we can see that Ibrahim was also buried with Sarah in the same cave. And in the years that followed, also that Nabi Yaqub and 3 wives or Zawjat buried the same place. But the story of the cave disappeared from history, we don't know, until the time of Herod the Great. Herod the Great, who came to the power above 36 BC, and he constructed a grand temple. And today, the temple converted to mosque. Why? Because that after the 7th century, that the whole area came under the Arab rule, under the Muslims. So the Muslims, they converted. Why? Because also Abraham, the great-grandfather of our prophets, very important. And you know that the Jewish saying today, this is Abraham for us, Allah Muslim for us. And the both community long struggle, especially in the town of Al-Khalil of Hebron. However, we can come here to the Egyptian parts. We can see that here the Nile. And here the Sinai. The Sinai desert is a part of Egypt, very big area. Why? Because that Allah inspired Moses to save the children of Israel from the Egyptian persecution. Why? Because the Egyptians, they became very poor people and they are not happy under the Egyptian kings. And why became slaves at that time? So that Moses was sent to bring these people from the slavery of the Egyptian people to take them to the promised land here. But if you look, we can see that here the Sinai Mountains, the place where Moses received the 10 Commandments. According to the Bible, that commandments were given to Moses in keeping the nation of Israel from their challenges in their life, from all nations all of the world. And we can see that here, the area of the map is 16 meter long and 6 meter wide. But we can see that missing parts of the map during the during the construction of a modern church of St. George. This church was built in 1884 over the earliest Byzantine church. This is here, and also we can see this is the most important points for this map. But I want to tell you that after the October War in 1973, that the Egyptian experts in the Israelites expired. During the peace negotiations, they spent here about 3 months together studying the map in order to define the border between the Sinai and the part of Palestine, or occupied Palestine. You see? Now you have a good time that if you want to go inside of church to see the maps. If not, we can go the same way. You can't tell me that. If you want to go inside, it's okay. If not, you see. But here it's a copy of the map. Okay, my friends, here, this is the last.